All right, real quick. I know you've been sitting back, you've been doing what you do, and it's that time. It's time to evaluate and evolve. So when I say evaluate and evolve, I mean you need to sit back and you think about this. You've been creating content, you record episodes, you showing up consistently every single week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. And yet you don't seem to have nothing to show for. You have no clients, none whatsoever. I mean, you got to be sitting around thinking, am I doing something wrong? See, you're doing everything that certain folk have told you, but the inquiries are just not landing in your DMs. And every month you look at the numbers and you think, is this actually working for me? You're sitting around and you're really thinking about that. Is this actually working for your show? But here's what nobody's telling you. And this is the part that's going to sting a tad bit. Just a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit. Your podcast isn't broken. Your strategy is. Because while you've been grinding manually, outlining, scripting, editing, writing show notes, creating all of these wonderful captions, sitting around brainstorming titles after title after title, posting, reposting, your competitors have cracked the AI code. They're producing content within hours, what takes you weeks. And they are starting to book clients. They're starting to really do what they're supposed to do. They are generating clients on a level of where you want to be. Now I know you're like, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not going into that mode. Here's the one thing you got to understand. We're going to bust your bubble right here. AI didn't kill the podcast game. AI separated the amateurs from the operators. See, AI came in and made everything, what we've been talking about for the longest, work for itself. You have to think. AI came in and said, you said you wanted to take your time back. You wanted to spend more time with your family. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to make things simpler. But most people sat back and said, nah, we ain't going for that. We're not going for that at all. We don't trust AI. So you're stuck in the mud. Now today, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to be smart about it. I'm definitely going to be smart about it. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you which side of the line you need to be on and exactly how to put it together. Because see, here at Podcast for Profits, we dove into the AI space a few months ago, probably about 6. And I tell you what, it changed everything for how we do podcasting.
Welcome to Podcast for Profit, the show where podcasters become CEOs. I'm your host, Tony Porter, and every week I'm giving you the strategy, systems, and game you need to grow your audience, monetize your message, and build a 7-figure podcast business. No fluff, no cap, just real results. Let's get into it.
Hey, yo, what up, gang? Welcome back to Podcast for Profits, the show where we stop trading time for likes and start turning this conversation that we're having into currency. Now, you know who I am. I'm your host, Mr. Tony Porter, your podcast monetization strategist and business coach. Today, we're diving into how I use AI to turn my podcast into a client-generating machine. But before we start, real talk, if you're a coach, consultant, a service provider who's tired of podcasting into that void, who's tired of struggling to generate money from your show, and you're ready to start generating real clients, real revenue, pay attention. Because see, the strategies we're breaking down today aren't just theories. They are the exact framework I use to help my clients turn their podcast into a simple 7-figure business in today's world. Now, we got to take some time. We're going to do some covering today. We're going to cover a few things. I want to say about 5, maybe. Yeah, we're going to cover about 5 things, maybe a little less. But here we go. We got pillar number 1, how I use AI to build out a complete content engine from a single recording session. So every episode multiplies into a dozen, or should I say dozens, of client touch points. We're going to talk about how AI-powered lead generation systems that I use to attract, nurture, and convert listeners into booking triage calls without chasing anyone. Then we can also get into how to use AI to analyze your content, like I analyze my own content, to find the money moments hidden in plain sight, the ones that most podcasters completely miss. See, we've got a lot of game to drop today, so we cannot waste no time. Listen, we keep it to 3 pillars. we keep it to 3 touch points that we need to really focus on. And by us keeping it to those 3 touch points, it makes everything for us a whole lot simpler because we want to make everything for you a whole lot simpler. So with that being said, let's go on and get it cracking, man. Let's get into it. Let's dive right in and let's make this thing happen the way it's supposed to happen. Okay? Now, see, here's what you gotta realize. If you're spending more time creating content than actually running your business, you've lost the game, man. You've lost the battle. The battle is won in the trenches and behind closed doors. And so nowadays, businesses are done over Instagram, businesses are done over LinkedIn, businesses are done over Facebook, businesses are done over a simple Zoom call. But if you're not ready, you've lost the game. See, AI is moving fast. Here's why I say AI is moving fast. Recently, Anthropic, which is a company that Claude.ai is on, I truly switched over and fell in love with Claude. But the U.S. government wanted to take Claude and do other things with it. Now, they said that they didn't, but in reality, we know what they was up to. Okay? Now, Claude said, we're not going to allow you to do that. They backed out. Now they're trying to blackball Claude, right? But Claude is getting better and better, stronger and stronger. Now, here's the funny part before we get any further into this, because I want all the coaches, all the consultants, and all the service providers who's recording a podcast and staring into a blank screen, trying to figure out what to post next. I'm talking to you. Now, remember I said Claude declined it, and like 24 to 48 hours later, OpenAI accepted the defense contract. Or here's what they're not telling y'all, because I sit back, did research on it, and I found out Claude been in the defense system for at least 5 years, if not more. And here's the crazy part to that. All right. Here's what's so crazy about this. Claude is embedded into some of the United States' most effective weaponry systems. Claude is over the nuclear system. You're going to have to come a tad bit better in order for you to erase all of that. It's going to be 6 months to at least 2 years to get all of that out of there. Donnie might be gone, but that's not for me to say. What I'm saying is this is how powerful AI has become. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is AI uses the inputs, the prompts from humans in order for these things to take over. Does it memorize you? Yeah, it memorizes you to the T. I want you to understand, before AI used to be just like the rest of these coaches, the rest of the service providers, the rest of the consultants out here. See, back in 2020, when COVID hit, I wasn't thinking about this podcast space here. I was making beats. I was trying to market beats online. I stumbled across Gabe Schilling and Russell Brunson. Now, I had a podcast back in the day, but it was about music. 2017, we was doing music because that's the life that I loved. It's the life that I used to live. If you think I'm pulling your leg, Google Does Spliff as DASPLIPH. Dropped the album. We used to work for Def Jam. We've done it all. All right. But in 2020, I was doing everything myself. I was trying to figure out marketing. I didn't know marketing. I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to build a community. I was trying to get people to like me. I was on BeatStars. I was literally everywhere. Like, you would not believe where I was at when it came to this space. See, online is truly where it's at, right? So I was doing everything. I was trying to show up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Man, every single piece of content felt like I was starting from scratch. I would record music. I would record myself doing beats. I would record podcast episodes and then start to thinking, now what? I didn't know nothing about show notes. I didn't know nothing about thumbnails. I didn't know. I was doing everything backwards. Okay. I was doing everything backwards. Now I'm to the point where I understand show notes, understand writing captions. I understand that I need to have an email system. I understand how to make a reel. See, being from West Louisville, I grew up knowing that if you're working harder than necessary, that's not hustling. We hustle. We felt like if you was busting your tail, that was a waste. You work smarter, not harder. You find the leverage. And then when AI popped into my life a few years ago, that statement became truer and truer every single second. Now, here's what I do instead of working backwards. After recording each episode in a session, I feed my episode transcript into AI with a prompt. And I have a master prompt that I use. I call it the Profit Lab Repurposing OS. That's my system. Something I do, man. It's the Profit Lab. All right. So, and that one specific script that I write now becomes 5 Instagram Reels captions pulled from my mic drop moments, 5 Facebook posts using my 563 content pillar framework that I learned from Adley Kins, a couple of email newsletters that drives listeners to the episode, some SEO optimization show notes for the Apple, Spotify, and of course my website. I got my YouTube description done. I got some hashtags already embedded. 3 title variations tested for curiosity, clarity, and searchability. 1 session, 6 to 8 pieces of content, all on brand, all in my voice, all ready to deploy. I'm not struggling. I'm not struggling at all. People think that listen, I have a system. My system is I idealize on Sundays. On Mondays, the episode is already dropped. And when I say I idealize on Mondays, I'm a week ahead of schedule. So this episode that you're seeing, I've already recorded next week's episode. It drops next Monday. All right. But I'm planning out after that. All right. So stop creating content from scratch, because I don't. It helps me out. Stop creating content from strategy. That's the old way. All right. Your episode isn't the content. Your episode is the source material. AI is the content factory. Your job is to be the creative director, not the assembly line worker. And that's where we get caught up at. You know, if you sit around and you ask somebody back in the day, hey, have you transformed over to banking online? Nah, I still write checks. You're going to get left behind. People are fighting data centers, but yet and still they want to hold a $20,000 piece of content creation factory in their hand, a phone, a tablet, a laptop. But yet and still, where do you think your data goes? No, they're tracking us. They track you every single day, every day. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Inside the free community, we're dropping the exact master prompt framework I use to turn one episode into a full week of content. That's it. If you want to get in on this prompt, you got to go to podcastforprofits.com and join right now. It's free. It's active. And it's the move. See, my homeboy, I got a business coach, lives up in the D, up in Detroit, right? He went from 12 hours of content creation every single week to 2 hours the whole time. 2 hours. He cut that in half. Same output, better consistency, more client inquiries. All right. But here's the thing. He stopped being a factory and became the director. Now, one thing you got to understand, creating content is only half of the equation. The other half is making sure the content is actually being or bringing people into your world and moving them towards buying anything from you. That's the buying decision. Now, we're going to jump into the next pillar, because this is where most podcasters leave most of their bread on the table. All right. We're not leaving no bread, man. This is what we about. We got to get that bread. All right. So now we need to talk about the second section, and that's the AI lead generation system. From listener to a booked triage call. Now, you know what's worse than not getting clients from your episode? That's getting listeners, real engaged listeners, and watching them disappear without ever raising their hand. That's a lead generation problem, not a content problem. And guess what? AI can fix that. See, when I first started building out the Podcast Academy and the Profit Labs Academy communities, I had people listening, people commenting, people saying the show was fire, but they wasn't signing up for no triage call. They wasn't converting. Why? Because they had no intentional system moving them from point A to point B. They had nothing to say, man, this is fire. I need to work with you, man. Nothing. I didn't put none of that together. Remember, when I started, I didn't know this game. I had to learn this game from David Sands, from Pat Flynn, from Amy Potterfield. I remember stepping in to a virtual summit with Russell Brunson. And I'm amazed at the people that's coming on this stage. He brought in a digital creator from Atlanta named Nehemiah Davis. And Nehemiah was speaking facts on creating an online business space. He was dope with it. And while I'm sitting here listening to Nehemiah talk, I run into an individual from Indianapolis. And he says, man, I came across your podcast. It's fire. He said, I've been listening to it for about the last couple of weeks and questions were still coming. And I was like, man, you got to join the community. And once we talked about it, we moved into the point of there's free value with this out of this community that can help you transform your podcast and make it a lead generation system. We have all the tools, all the aspects, the frameworks that you need. But you know what the problem was? I stopped there. I never finished the conversation. And you know what I said after that? Never again. Never again will I miss the opportunity to turn a conversation into currency. So what I did was I said, I'm either going to go in here and build something or I'm going to have something built. And I turn around and I built out a lead magnet that could help any and everybody. It's an AI powered lead magnet, right? And here's the thing. I use this myself right now because I'm in the beta testing process and it's dope. I didn't want to make no PDF that's generic because you get those, you look at them and sometimes you throw them away. I got a PDF I just found from the Hamazis, 88 pages. And I figured out why I didn't want to go through it. Me being dyslexic, I have problems reading a lot of times. So I'm not trying to read 88 pages, but I will tell you this, I will keep it a secret. And that secret is I'm not going to keep it a secret. I'm going to let you know that PDF has helped me out in my marketing aspect way more than I ever thought it would. So I use AI to break it down for me. This wound up turning into my client generating podcast blueprint and my client conversation to currency checklist. Both I built with AI. Both refine my strategy, both convert because they are specific, not because they're flashy. They are right to the point. AI has assisted me in my email nurture system. Every new lead enters into the 7-day email sequence that I crafted using AI, written in my voice, telling my story, educating people on the framework, and naturally walking them toward a conversation with me. Not a cold pitch. I'm not begging you for jack. Just value, then an invitation. And then AI has helped me optimize my call to action and the placement. I use AI to analyze every episode. I identify the exact moments where a listener is most likely to take action. And that's at their highest emotional peak. That's where my CTA drops. Not at the end, like most people do. They drop it at the end of the episode. I'm going to hit you right smack dead in the middle of the episode when people have already checked out. When they get to that point where they've checked out most of your content and you hit them with that, that's the peak. So your CTA belongs at the peak, not at the exit. You know, when you start your podcast, you're on a level ground and then you start to rise up and you get right to where you go flatten out, that's the peak. In the stock market, they call that resistance, all right? We're at the resistance stage. Because if you keep going, you're going to be 7 figures. And a lot of people get to that resistance stage and they want to come back down to the support system. Well, we can't go back down to the support system. We got to stay right there. All right. So I won't allow you to walk out of any conversation because, first of all, I'm not going to be salesy. Man, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to sit there. We're going to chop it up. But you catch them right at that moment of maximum interest. See, AI helps you find that moment every single time. So again, man, like when I talk about this, I talk about this over in the lab, over in the academy. I walk you through exactly how to build this lead bridge that stretches, and I mean it stretches from scratch. The lead magnet, the email sequence, all of it, all in one. The community's free. The game's inside. It's priceless. Get in, get in, get in. So I had people who was coming to me, man. I got a person, he's an influencer. He came to me. He had 0 leads per month for 23 qualified inquiries in 90 days. That's where he went from 0 to 23 in 90 days. He didn't change his podcast. He didn't change none of that. He changed the system. Same podcast, same voice, same story, but now there's an internal AI-powered funnel catching every single lead, walking them through, and then taking them home. See, creating content and generating leads, those are the inputs. But how do you know what's actually working? How do you know which episodes are producing clients and which ones are just podcast downloads? And this is where the third section, the third pillar comes in. And honestly, this might be one of the most pieces that podcasters never even think about. I kid you not. This is probably the one. And that's the AI revenue. You got to find the money that's hidden in plain sight, man. You got to find that money that's hidden in plain sight. So you're sitting on a gold mine and you're treating it like a hobby. I'm not saying that to be harsh. I'm saying it because I did the same thing longer than I want to admit. See, remember I told you I started podcasting before I felt this. See, in 2017, I was podcasting. I didn't understand none of that. In 2020, I decided to go in a different direction. Still was podcasting, but I was going in another direction. And when I went into that other direction, I found how to do things right, how to market, I switched over to podcast, switched over to the business end, realized that my podcast, along with your podcast, has money in it that you haven't found yet. I hadn't found it. The AI can find it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. AI is going to tap in and show you some things, but you just got to be open-minded about it. So about a year into building Podcasts for Profits, I started noticing a pattern. Certain episodes would spike my DMs. Certain episodes would get shared. Certain episodes would lead to people asking about my programs specifically. All right. And not long after that, I was, treating all episodes the same. Same promotions, same follow-ups. Basically, it was the same energy. Then I started using AI to audit my own content. I had to. I fed it 6 months of episodes and asked it to simple one thing question. What topics, what language patterns, and what stories drive the most listeners? Excuse me. And when I asked that, I needed to know what responses, what engagement came along with it. And the answer shocked me. 3 episodes out of over 50, 3 episodes were responsible for the majority of my book calls. Not because they was best produced episodes, but because they hit specific pain points at specific times in specific ways. AI helped me see what I was too close to see. And this is what I call the revenue audit. And you can run this today. If you're brand new, you might have to record some episodes and then see and then do this. All right. But if you've got over 10 or 15 episodes, take them. Take the transcripts, feed them into an AI tool of your choice. I use Claude. Now you can use ChatGPT, but here's what I like to do. I like to do all 3. I'll take Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, and I also use DeepSeek. Okay, and I want to use. Here's the reason why I use all of these, because I want to see what if they get similar in what they're saying, but different wording, or if everything is just all over the place. So the emotional peaks in each episode, the specific language patterns that generated curiosity, the calls to action, all of that was right there in front of me. See, some of it felt natural. Most of it felt forced. And the gaps between what you teach and what you offer solves that whole problem. Now, what you'll get back is a roadmap, a blueprint that shows you exactly what topics to double down on, which stories to tell more of, and where your listeners is most likely to convert. Then use the insights to build your next 10 episodes intentionally, not randomly. Every episode becomes a strategic asset and not a shot in the freaking dark. Downloads don't pay bills, people. Clients do. And the podcast folk who are winning are not the ones who chase downloads. They're the ones who understand the data deeply enough to know which conversations lead to currency. AI gives you an understanding to scale. And this is the operator's edge that I share step by step inside of the Profit Lab, the Academy. You don't need a huge catalog to run it. You need at least 5 episodes and the willingness to look honestly at your work. See, a lot of people think everything that they do is just remarkable. But here's the problem. You have to be your worst critic. Everybody's going to say, oh, man, that's the bomb. Your podcast is good. I got people that still tell me that. And when they tell me that, I go back and I find something wrong with that episode. Because why? I'm chasing perfection after the episode is already done, so I know what I need to do in the next one. I'm being honest with myself. A lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to be honest. All right. So I ran this audit with a client, my homeboy, my youngster, who just started that podcast, and he's been doing influence. He's been live on Twitch and all over the place with his fragrance lines that he's the fragrance influencer. He dropped a few episodes. He has some decent numbers, no monetization yet, but in 30 days running the audit framework and repurposing just 3 of his best pieces of content. Some people, man, listen, some people got excited. They started asking him questions, DMing him. And when he started giving answers, all of a sudden he set up a little Patreon. And with this added at Patreon, people started paying him for that. Now, I've never been one to ask the question, because me asking you how much money you make, it's not in my book. It's not in the book. But he was kind enough to say, hey, man, right now, man, after we did what we did and the last couple of months, man, I've generated about $2,000 or $3,000. I was like, yeah, share the win, baby, share the win. And that's exactly what he did. He shared the win. And once he shared the win, I was more excited, because I'm helping a friend, a youngster, 3 kids with a family, grind his way through and help live his dream. That's the beauty of this. You feel me? This conversation's been good today. And we've covered a lot in all 3 pillars: the AI content engine, the AI lead generation system, and the AI revenue audit. Every single one of these is something you can start implementing this week. Not someday, this week. But here's what I know about you. You didn't just need strategies today. You needed a community around you that keeps you accountable. You need someone to look at you and look at your actual podcast and your actual offer and tell you where the gaps are. And if you get inside the community, that's what that community is for. The community is not going to be the hold back, the fluff, the bluff, the rough stuff and all of that. So here's the thing. We're going to give you the conversation checklist, the conversation and currency checklist, the podcast blueprint, but the client generating podcast blueprint, all inside the community. Everything is free. And I want you to understand something. Now I'm in the process of working on something that could help you get to the point where you know exactly how much money you're going to get if you do things right. But if you want to go deeper, you might have to join the wait list, because right now we're creating the podcast accelerator. All right. We want you to be able to maximize your entire system, your entire potential. It's a step-by-step system you can execute immediately. Now, that's what we're going to pinpoint. That's what we're going to chill at, because we're building this thing together. And eventually you're going to want to be in the podcast profit engine. We'll get there too, man. All right. But all of it starts with joining the community. Go to podcastersacademy.com and join right now. That's it. That's a wrap on today's episode for Podcast for Profits. If this episode added value to your game today, share it, leave a review, send it to a fellow coach or consultant who's grinding, trying to put a podcast together because they want to give away some free game that's going to potentially draw in clients, and figure out why they're not coming. You might just change their business trajectory with one share. Man, I'm Tony. I'm your podcast monetization strategist and your business coach. And we don't just talk about the bag around here. We build the strategy episode by episode. We turn conversations into currency. We go get that bag, because here at Podcast for Profits, that's what we do. All right, man, I'm going to see y'all when I see y'all, man. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Podcast for Profit. If you got value today, share this episode with a creator who's ready to level up. And make sure you hit follow so you never miss the moves we're making. If you're serious about turning your podcast into a business, tap the link in the show notes to join the Solo Empire Network and get the tools, coaching,